just going to read out some of these responses. It's so exciting to see so many different people all across the globe in different industries here. I see members joining us from the hotel industry, from healthcare, agriculture. I see finance. I see manufacturing as well. I see advertising and software. Shout out to those of you joining us from India as well. We see a wide variety of people from education, from IT, e-commerce. I see someone coming in from legal as well. Really great stuff. Such a privilege to be here. So we are 3 minutes into our start time. Again, I just want to remind you that my name is Jonah, if I haven't said that enough. Today, what we're going to go over is just our new features for the month of September. I think it's going to be really exciting for you to take a close look at the new releases that we have. And I'd like to also introduce to you my colleagues in the call as well. I have Shannon and Juan on the side who will be supporting us with our demo. And we'll answer any of your questions that you drop in the Q&A box down below in this Zoom call. Just a fair warning, we won't necessarily be taking a look at the chat box anymore. We'll spend most of our time taking a look at the Q&A box. That's a place where you can submit your questions. So please feel free to write any of your questions. And if we don't get to you now, we'll go ahead and send you some resources that will be really applicable to you as you explore these new features. All right, so let's just take care of some housekeeping things as we move ahead. If you have to step away at any point during this webinar, don't worry at all. This session is currently being recorded and it's going to be ready for you to watch whenever you're ready on our Monday Academy page that you see the hyperlink there for. For today's session, we're really going to go over two parts. The first section is going to be taking a look at our new features in action. And then we're going to move into a live Q&A section where we'll be able to answer your questions. Throughout the demo, again, please be sure that you're asking questions in the dedicated Q&A box section at the bottom of this screen instead of in the general chat. We're not going to be monitoring the chat section anymore. We'll try to get to as many of your questions as we can, but seeing that there are a lot of us today, feel free to check out our user community page at community.monday.com to find answers to your questions specifically for the new features reviewed today. Finally, you're going to get an email of this recording, and you're going to get a CSAT survey in about 3 business days as well. So let's jump right into it and take a look at today's agenda. We have some really exciting updates to cover today. We'll talk about the date column revamp, view lock permissions, availability management, connecting sub-items, automation communications, and so much more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what I consider to be probably one of the most exciting parts of our new Flies feature webinar. Introducing the revamped date column. The date column has finally been revamped. Among the top 2 highest used columns across our user base, the date column serves almost all golden use cases. So what's the main thing that we wanted to improve? We received a lot of feedback from our customers that the lack of ability to type in the date for what date we want is a big roadblock. This made using the column really challenging, especially when you wanted to add a date that was so far away from today. Adding such a date to your board reduced efficiency and was really tedious, but today I'm proud to announce that we have changed and revamped the date column so that you can now instantly type in the date that you want and save you a ton of time. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like. Up until now, you used to have to manually navigate through the date that you wanted. So for example, if you wanted to jump to October 14th, 1993, you had to toggle through the months and then you had to toggle through the years, and it took a lot of time. Now, what we can do is simply type into the date column search bar and type in exactly an input of what we want. Now let's go over some more exciting capabilities regarding this new revamp. Our date column can now register a plethora of different inputs, not just the date that you input here. For example, let's just say I wanted to navigate to today since I've already inputted a date from 1994. Previously in the past, it would take a long time for me to go all the way to 2023, but instead what I can do now is simply type in the word today. And just like that, today's date is selected. As you might imagine, this also extends into other possibilities as well. For example, if you wanted to type in the word tomorrow, that is something that we can do. If you wanted to type in the word yesterday, that is also something we can do. Let's see what else we can do. We can type in last Friday. We can type in next week. And right away, as you can see, the date is seamlessly produced whenever you type into the search bar. There are some other things that you can also do that are really, really neat. For example, you can type in how many days ago you want the date to populate as well. So let's say that from today, I want a date that is 10 days later. Bam. If you wanted to type in 5 days later, that's also something that's available. You can also type in 2 weeks from now. You can type in 3 months later. You can type in 10 weeks from now with a longer duration or with a shorter duration, 1 week from now. This is going to save us a lot of time, especially for those who are using a lot of the date column. There are also some technical things that you might want to be aware of as well. You can type in exactly the date stamp that you want by turning on the time toggle right here. And you can type in the exact time zone that you want translated into your local time according to your profile settings. So for example, let's say I wanted to register a time that was 1840 GMT plus 0900 JST. If I press enter, voila, it will automatically convert that to my local time that is set according to my profile settings. Another thing that you could do is type in the date in a different order format. So for example, let's say I'm used to typing in the year before I type in the month. No worries. All you have to do is write that in and the revamp will register that. If you're someone like me who likes to save a lot of time, you can also get away with just writing the character W for 3 weeks ago, or even the character D for 5 days later. Oops, there we go. If you liked how the date column worked in the past, you still have that option, as you can see here, to navigate through the date column with the monthly drop-down menu and the yearly drop-down menu as well. But another cool thing to add is that you can toggle through all of this with full keyboard accessibility while navigating through the search bar and the drop-down menus in the calendar. For example, if I wanted to just toggle through without using my mouse, all I have to do is click into one of the values and use the button tab on my keyboard to toggle through all those options. And then once I get to the actual calendar drop down, I can toggle through these with my keyboard, navigate to different months, and then press enter when I'm ready to submit. Now, a couple other logistical things that I want to show you that are going to make it easier to add timestamps. So from now on, the timestamps that you add, when you click on the little time toggle section right here, it's going to automatically change according to the date format of your profile's local time. And I just want to spend some time to show you how to make sure that your profile is in the correct time zone. All you have to do is navigate to your profile, the top right-hand corner, click on My Profile, navigate to Language and Region, and you should see what time zone will be translated with your date column inputs. All right, so now that we covered the logistics of the new capabilities, let's just talk about a couple limitations that you should be aware of. For now, this revamp is only applicable to the date column and not to the timeline column. The great news is that our developers are working to extend these capabilities to the timeline column later in the future. Additionally, English is the only language that is currently supported for input, and the search bar will only also accept numeric values. More language support will be developed in the future. Inputting without opening the date picker as well is also not supported at this time. So you will need to click on the date column cell to expand the picker and choose your date from this menu. Inputting a time range as well is not supported in the date column revamp. That will come with the update to the timeline column. So this applies to a range of a couple of things. For example, if I typed in a time range in the time section right here, let's say I said 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., it will only register the first timestamp that I inputted. Another thing that is not quite yet supported is that you cannot enter the quarter for which you want to keep the, input the beginning of. So for example, if you wanted to start this as the first quarter, that is not something that will be registered. And lastly, something else that you want to be mindful of is that you must use slashes to indicate the month, the date, and the year when you are inputting your date. Otherwise, it will not recognize the date that you want. The last note on this is that this new version of the date column is currently being gradually released to all accounts across the platform and will be released in the upcoming months to you. Therefore, if you don't see it currently on your account, just sit back and relax and wait for that revamp to be implemented on your account. All right, so let's move on to our next exciting feature. Board views, as you can see up here, are often an integral part of building your workflow. Views allow you to view your data in your board in different ways. For example, as a chart view, a form view, a Kanban view, a timeline view, and so on and so forth. Filtered views are also a great way and an integral part to making a more complex workflow. And oftentimes, the issue that we have seen is that when you set up a particular view, anyone on the board could edit and change those filters without necessarily having the permission to do so. So this meant that views, again, could be tampered with and changed after it was set up, and it caused a lot of issues and a lot of friction. So now I would like to introduce you to our view lock permissions. From now on, both of those who originally set up the view, or what we call view creators, and the board owners can lock a view so that a filtered view or a particular type of board view can be locked and cannot be changed by other users. This feature is going to be made available, especially to Pro and Enterprise accounts. Those who are not view creators or board owners will still be able to edit a filtered view, but the caveat here is that the edits that they make will not be able to be saved. So for example, besides the obvious ones like changing the filter settings, this is also going to include rearranging the structure of the board, conditional coloring, and also deleting the board view as well. At this time, the only limitation that you should be aware of is that you cannot lock the board views if you have downloaded a marketplace app that will appear as a new board tab up here. All right, so let's move on to our next feature, availability management. The availability management is an improvement to our existing workload widget, which is both available on both the board level and the dashboard level. For those of you who are not familiar with this workload widget, this feature is available on Pro and Enterprise accounts, and it's really the main feature that we have on monday.com for resource management, allowing you to visually see the items assigned per team member while adding the option of also setting limitations in the settings on how many tasks a user can take on. You can also define the effort element for more intensive resource management as well. One thing that we heard a lot of feedback about in the past was the fact that users were not able to define a team member's availability, meaning their working hours, working days, and what days they had a holiday on. So this meant that resource planning and allocation on Monday was a little less accurate than what our users needed. Introducing availability management. Now you have the ability to predefine availability and working hours based on work schedules, part-time workers, holidays, offsite events, and so much more. So to access this availability management feature, you can go to the administration section with your avatar at the top right-hand corner. Then you'll navigate to General, and you'll see a new tab called Work Schedule. This is only accessible to account admin at this time. Let's take a look at just how this works. When you navigate to this section and you click on the blue plus button that says Add a Schedule, you'll be able to add a new schedule that is catered to a specific team. You could see right off the bat, even before I click on creating a new schedule, that there is a default work schedule that's already assigned to anyone who is not assigned to a schedule. You can obviously click on this and alter this to your desired liking as well. Let's just walk through how you can set up a work schedule for a specific team. When you first click on that blue plus button, it's going to take you to this page where right away you can define the work days of the week and the hours that are considered working hours. For my team here that I've named Tottenham Hotspur, I've set it so that each team member is working from 9 to 6 on all weekdays except for Wednesday. So depending on what days your team works on, you can feel free to toggle through each of these and predefine that working schedule. When you click on Next, you'll be taken to a calendar view of the entire year where you can determine the public holidays and what days are off limits so that no assignments can be assigned for those days. For example, let's just take the United States. In the United States, the 4th of July is a huge holiday that lands on a Tuesday this year. I can go ahead and insert a new date and write Independence Day, set that up as a public holiday, and then add that time off. Later, we'll see how this affects the workload widget. I can also add a duration of days that make it unavailable for selection when scheduling tasks as well. So for example, let's say that I know that our team has a company offsite on these 2 days right here. I'm going to go ahead and select that duration. And I'm going to write offsite. I'm going to categorize it as other, and then I'm going to add that time off. And there you go. Now, this duration of days will not be selectable in the workload widget when assigning tasks to people. All right, so now let's navigate over to the workload widget that we were previously looking on and see how this schedule affects my team. When we have a workload widget on a board or a dashboard and we zoom in into the views that displays the days of the week, you will now see different shades which indicate the public holidays or the days off for my team. If you happen to have a task that is assigned to an individual on or a day off, you'll see a little red notice that tells you that the item is scheduled on a day off, and you'll probably want to reassign that task to a different day. When you go into the settings of the workload widget, you'll be able to see different ways to manage your team's assignments by toggling through the different types of capacity. So let's just walk through one scenario here. Let's say that we want to work within the confines of the team's available hours according to the work schedule that we assigned. All you have to do then is click on work schedule under capacity here to make sure that the schedule is considered when determining if your team has the bandwidth to tackle that task for that day. So in our work schedule, we previously have already assigned the hours to be between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., which is a total of 9 hours in a working day. You can see that we've also selected the hours column right here on the board to define the effort that is being measured. Now, let's take a look at Sun's assignment right here called Shift 1. This task, it has 10 hours allotted for this task. Let's see right here in the hours column. So the workload widget with the little bubble is indicating to us that he is over capacity for this day. This is all thanks to the predefined work schedule. If you're measuring availability by story points instead of available hours on the day, you can change the capacity settings so that the predefined work schedule hours aren't considered in the effort measured. Instead, you can customize the parameters of the efforts measured and insert a custom weekly capacity. All you have to do is click on custom instead of work schedule, and then define the weekly capacity with a number insert right here. So let's just set it to 40, and then the week workload widget will calculate that Sun has 10 available hours per day since he only works 4 days a week and he has a capacity of 40 hours a week. This workload widget will show you the daily availability when you hover over the blue bubble like I'm showing you right now, while keeping in mind the days off and holidays scheduled in the work schedule as well. So let's go over a few known limitations at this time with this new feature. At this time, assigning work schedules to individuals is currently not supported, but I have a really great workaround that might work for you in the meantime. I forgot to mention earlier that when you are assigning the tasks to, when you're setting up the schedule, in the third page, when you set up that schedule, you will have a drop-down menu available for you to select what team, not individual, what team this will be applicable to. So the workaround for assigning one individual a particular schedule is that you will create a team that only consists of one individual. When you do that and you navigate back to the work schedule section and you try to assign that the schedule to that one team, it will be available right here like this. And let's go ahead and see how that affects the workload widget as well. If you know soccer at all, you know that Harry Kane has moved to this team that I just assigned him to. And you can see that Harry Kane also has his schedule that is aligned with the rest of my team in this particular schedule. But let's say that Harry Kane has a different schedule at hand. I'm going to unassign this right here. And then I'm going to add a new work schedule where they are available for every single day and assign it to that team. When I go back to the workload widget, we will see the corresponding work schedules both applied to the workload widget that is different for each respective team. Another known limitation at this time is that the availability will not affect the timeline view or other widgets. It will only affect the workload widget right now. We're currently working on this development for the future. Lastly, the work schedule will only be displayed when a person in the person column is selected in the settings. As to continue that, right? As a resource type, the person column needs to be selected in order to display this work schedule. This feature may be monitored in the future, so please be on the lookout for more information about that. All right, so let's move on to another really great feature that I feel that is going to enable a lot of you to work seamlessly across our platform with subitems. Now we have the ability to connect subitems to another item on a different board and by using automations to enable that process. Let's just demonstrate this together and walk through a particular use case that I set up here. What I have for you here in this scenario is just a different series of boards, an orders board, an orders log board, and then an inventory board to keep track of my inventory. This inventory board is going to specifically keep track of how much inventory I have for a particular set of products, and then it's going to calculate how much I have left according to the products that are ordered on my orders board using this connect boards column right here. On my orders board, I've set this up so that each line item represents a customer who's submitting orders with multiple products that are going to be represented at the sub item level. I have this neat automation already set up so that if a product is selected in this status column, it will automatically populate a sub item level with preset values, including a connection from my sub item to my parent item on the inventory board. Let me show you this in a demonstration by first showing you the automation recipe. As you can see here, I have 1, 2, 3 automations that are set up for each of the products. I've set up a trigger so that if this particular status column is selected, it will produce a sub item with preset values. I've named this preset value the product that I want it to be labeled. I've chosen the status column, the cost for each unit as well. And most importantly, I've created a connection to the correlating item on the inventory board, since I already set up this connection between the sub item and the other board. So let's just see how this plays out in action. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of orders that Jonah Park has ordered for product A. And I'm just going to trigger this automation so that it creates those products under this particular parent item. All right, and as you can see, that automation has kicked in, and just as we expect, those preset values that we've mapped out in the automation are automatically populating. Most importantly, the connection to the inventory board from the sub item level is being produced. And if we navigate to the inventory board, we can see that all those connections are being produced in the connect boards column here. So this is going to be great, but we're not quite finished yet. If I enter a quantity for each of the items here, my board setup here is going to do the math so that it says, hey, in this particular column right here, go ahead and calculate and subtract the amount of stock that I have for product A, subtract that with the quantity that is ordered, and then produce the outcome right here. So let's see that out in action. I'm going to enter a quantity here. Let's say that for the first item, they ordered 10. Second order, they've ordered 25. The next one, they've ordered this amount. And if I go back to my inventory board, because the values are mirrored, you can see that the quantity mirror column is updated with those updated quantities. And the math is indeed kicking in to show me very valuably how much inventory I have left in stock. All right, so let's go back to our orders board and show you another way that this connection from the sub item level to the parent item level is super valuable. You might have noticed that I have another connect boards column over here labeled order log. What this is doing is it is automatically connecting to the order log board so that I have a composite view of all of my orders related to the products that are occurring at the sub item level, regardless of who is ordering that item. So let's just say that I'm working with Shannon over here, and Shannon's ordered a couple of different items. Right now, she has no sub items at her parent item level. And I'm going to go ahead and trigger this automation so that she's ordered product B, and that she also has ordered product C as well. Right now, as you can tell, the order log connect boards column is not being filled in, and that's because it hasn't been triggered yet. The quantity in Shannon's products right here is empty because I have to manually input how much of each of these products she's ordered. Before I trigger that, let me show you the automation recipe that will be very useful for you for connecting sub items to another parent item on a different board. What I've set up here is that when the quantity at the sub item level changes, then an item will be created on the order log board, and it will automatically connect in the mapped out connect boards column. I've also set up the item automation so that the name will be produced as the name of the person who is ordering the item dash the name of the sub item, which will be product B or product C. So let's demonstrate this. If I add a quantity here, and then I add a quantity here as well, we'll see that the order log connect boards column is producing exactly what we said in the automation recipe. If I navigate to the order log board, you can see that Shannon's items are now created as an item that is produced on this composite log. It is also automatically connecting to that sub item that I set up this automation for, and I can easily set up mirror columns to project whatever values I want from that sub item. So these are two great ways to show you just how connecting sub items to parent items using automation is vital to making your work a lot more effective. All right, so let's take a step back and take a look at our automation communication updates. Oops. Right now, in the past, it was really difficult to figure out why certain automations were not working the way that they should. Is it a bug? Is the automation just taking some time to trigger? Did we run out of automation actions? These were questions that were really unclear from the get-go. Now we've made some updates regarding automation communication so that it's really clear what's happening in the background. In the first automation update, you will now see a red banner that indicates the monthly limit of automation and integration actions for your plan if it is reaching quota. When you hit about 75% of the automation quota, you will now see a red banner like this appear at the top of your automation center. For non-enterprise accounts, this banner will give you the option to upgrade your plan if you want to increase your automation actions for that month. For enterprise accounts, you're going to see the option to contact sales directly to purchase further automation action add-ons. In the second automation update, you will now be updated on whether or not Monday is intentionally slowing down your automation performances in order to protect the platform from overload. When accounts are running too many automations at once, say, for example, you have about 1,000 automations running at one time, a yellow banner will appear to notify you of this slowdown. This should really clear things up as to whether or not something is wrong on your account or expected. In the third automation update, we're really excited to announce an automation notification system. For now, this notification system is set up so that if an item is moved from one board to another, it will produce a little pop-up window at the bottom right-hand corner to show you what item is moved, what automation was triggered, and where the item went. Let's demonstrate this and show you what this looks like. I've set up an automation so that if I click on this blue button, the item will move from this board to this board. We should see an automation notification at the bottom right-hand corner appear once the item is successfully moved. And there you have it. Now it'll be clear what happened to the item, where it's gone, and whether or not this is buggy behavior. For now, this is a work in progress, and it's limited to notifying you when an item has moved to a different board. We're really excited about this because we plan on expanding this notification setting in the future, and you'll be able to get notifications later on about whether an item is deleted, if an item is created on another board, when an email is sent from an item, and so many more automations. All right, so that should give you a lot more clarity about automations. Let's just take a little step back and talk about some account-wide updates that will really help you save time and make work on Monday a little less cumbersome. Let's start with our Workspace template. In the past, if you built a collection of awesome boards like this that really work in tandem with one another, they have connect board columns that are connected to one another, they have advanced features and so on and so forth, you really couldn't share that collection of boards with them in one Workspace template to download. Introducing Workspace templates. Now, Pro and Enterprise accounts can save Workspace templates and have it available for download from the template center. So let's take a look at how that works. If you want to save Workspace as a template, all you have to do is click on the three-dotted menu button next to the name of the workspace and save it as a template. The rest of your team will be able to download this Workspace template from the template center, just like you would a board template as well. This was a highly requested feature, and we're really excited to share this with you. We know that a ton of you have built out awesome workspaces with interconnected boards and specific uses for your team's needs. Now you'll easily be able to share with the rest of your team with just one click of the button. As this template is loading, and as you can see that a completely new workspace has been created, there are some limitations that we need to keep in mind. First, a workspace template can consist of a total of about 10 boards, dashboards, or docs in total. Second, a workspace template will be limited to a total of 500 items across the workspace. And third, you can have up to 50 files across the workspace template as well. And just to wrap things up with the workspace template, you can easily remove the workspace template from the template center just the same way that you added it to the template center. All you have to do is click on the three-dotted menu button right here and click on remove from templates, and there you go. Let's talk about our next feature. We've come a long way at monday.com from being able to provide you with a seamless set of capabilities that will make your life really easy. And we've heard your feedback, especially when it came to board, doc, and dashboard ownership. As we know, board, doc, and dashboard ownership is vital to enabling permissions. Also, previously, when owners left the company and things were left without owners, this would require a really cumbersome process of reaching out to the admin who are involved, getting them to transfer ownership of boards that are floating out there in space, and then assign that board to the person that needs the assignment. So to solve this issue, I'd love to introduce you to teams as owners. The benefit of this is twofold. First, it's going to save you a lot of time when you want to have everyone on a specific team with the same level of access and management of a board, a dashboard, or a doc, and you won't have to add them one by one anymore. Secondly, there will be less occurrences of boards, dashboards, and docs owners leaving the company and then having to transfer ownership through the method that I described. So let's take a look at this. I'm on a board right now, and all you have to do is type in the name of a specific team. Once I add that team, you'll see that there is an option, just like with a regular user, to crown that team with ownership. And there you go. The same thing works for dashboards and docs as well. On this dashboard, I'm going to navigate to this. I'm going to type in the name of a different team, and I'm going to add the blue crown to grant that specific team ownership of this dashboard. For the doc as well, I'm going to type in the name of another team, and I'm going to crown them with the blue crown to show all of those specific users that they have ownership over this doc. Removing teams from ownership is just as easy as it is adding them. If you're a board or a doc or a dashboard owner, or if the board is a main board that's open to the entire account, all you have to do is go back to the members list and remove that crown from their status. All right, so let's go ahead and take another step back and talk about our last update for our time together. Moving on to our final feature, we're going to talk about the app of the month. Introducing TeamBoard. TeamBoard is a newly developed app by our friends at Dev Samurai to help with team management, capacity planning, and reports for teams to visualize projects and team's time. Overall, TeamBoards is a quick and easy way to drag and drop assignments and tasks on a particular project for various members of your team. It provides a lot of valuable insight into the resource availability to help your team identify bottlenecks way ahead of schedule. And I'm going to go ahead and play their demo as I speak about this. This app is going to be particularly useful for project managers, team managers, or anyone in operations like IT, support, and a ton of other teams that really need a centralized view to allocate resource planning quickly and easily. So let's take a look at how this app works. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my TeamBoard where I've already set it up. So when you first download TeamBoard and you set this board up, you're going to be prompted to have a specific set of Monday native columns. And I'm just going to open the settings to show you that. Right here, perfect. So what you'll need is a numbers column to represent the scheduled hours, a person column to represent who the task is assigned to, a timeline column to indicate the duration of that task, a color picker column, which is going to allow you to set the color for each specific task, and then a status column to indicate the progress of that specific task as well. So what's neat about TeamBoard is that you can set up preset tasks that you might already know will be required of your team. For example, on my main team table right here, you can see that I've set up a multitude of different marketing related tasks, and I've already assigned them to different team members that I know will be working on it. In your TeamBoard view, you will have the unique ability to click on the item box feature right here, which will allow you to drag and drop existing tasks into the TeamBoard view. What's also great about TeamBoard is that you can set default settings so that each working day has a defined amount of allotted hours in the settings. For example, here the default working hours will be set to 8 hours per day. The numbers column correlates with this predefined restriction. And so when you create a task, you can drag the item's duration to affect how long each task will take per day. Let's see this out in action. TeamBoard will indicate to you in red their availability and if it has been exceeded or not for that specific day. This is going to help you to organize and manage your team and all of their tasks and manage resources better to make sure that everyone is working within their bandwidth. Another great thing about this feature is that you can see the exact status for each of the tasks indicated with the status column at the bottom left-hand corner of each item. If I decide to change this status, or someone on your team changes the status for the assigned item, it will also reflect on the TeamBoard view as well. Another thing that's great about this app is that you can assign one task to multiple people and have that reflected in each respective timeline view here. So let's just take, for example, this design a campaign narrative item. Let's say that Sun is not the only one I want this assigned to. I also want to assign this to Kuti Romero here. If I do that, you can see that the same exact item has been populated in Kuti Romero's item timeline right here. Having the indication that my team's bandwidth has been exceeded is a great feature on TeamBoard, and I can choose to unschedule a task from my team member's timeline as well. Just like I assigned this task to Kuti Romero, I can also easily remove them, and it will also make that effect on the TeamBoard view if I refresh the page. Let's see what else we can do with this new app. Another awesome feature is that you can turn on what we call the workload view. When we turn on this view, you can see the daily bandwidth for each individual, and you'll be able to see whether or not their working hours work for that particular day. By selecting this view, you can see how much availability each team member has per day. And I can click on the little drop-down menu right here, just like I did, to show what tasks are taking up that bandwidth. One known limitation at this time is that this newly made availability management feature that we just talked about earlier today does not correlate with TeamBoards at this time. In terms of pricing, TeamBoards is a paid marketplace app, and it is free for accounts that have up to 3 users. Pricing will depend on the allotted number of seats, and it will be free again for up to 3 seats. If you want to, you can check out more information on the marketplace app page. So this concludes the first part of our time together, and we've reviewed all of the month's newly released features. We're really excited about the direction that we're heading in to make your experience more seamless and easier to manage your work. Now, we're going to take a quick 3-minute break to just kind of get up, stretch, and grab water before we head into the Q&A portion of our time together. I know that we only have about 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat right now. Sorry, in the Q&A box right now, not the chat box. And we'll try to get through as many of them as much as possible. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself now, and let's actually reduce it to just 1 minute so that we have a plethora of time together. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and I'll be back in just 1 minute. Whoops. All right, so I am back after just 1 minute. I did get a little drink of water, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to review some general questions that might be applicable to a lot of people at this time. I know that we only have about 10 minutes, but let me take a look with my team to review any questions that we feel are applicable to lots of people in this audience. So give us just one moment, please. I see one question specifically about the lock permissions that I think is definitely worth pointing out. The question says from Annette here that, are you able to lock the main table views with lock permissions? At this time, we have decided not to permit locking a main table, and really the substitute for that would simply be to lock the actual board permissions that you can select up here with the three-dotted menu. And this will serve as a sufficient alternative to locking a main table view. On top of that, like board permissions just in general, allocating especially what kind of people are going to be able to access that board is going to be impertinent to those board permissions. So that's not going to be available. But again, you do have the ability to lock certain types of views, especially to keep the integrity of the structure of that view. So hopefully that helps to clarify. I'm just looking through a couple more questions. I see a question from Jafar. It says, if you update the TeamBoard view, does it update other boards where the same employees may be a part of? That's a great question. At this time, TeamBoard is only going to take into consideration what is manifesting on the particular board that this app is implemented on. So if, for example, Sun has items that are designated for them here, this will not be applicable on other boards because this item technically does not exist on other boards as well. What you might want to do, and this is not an answer that I have off the top of my head, is you'll want to create a dashboard. And I'm not sure off the top of my head, again, that TeamBoard is supported on the dashboard level. What dashboards would enable you to do is connect multiple boards with different values corresponding with the person to project onto a single entity. Again, that's not a question that I necessarily have an answer for with regards to whether or not TeamBoards is applicable to dashboards. But yes, just to answer, this will only apply to the items on this particular board. I'm just looking through a couple of more questions here. Just a technical question that I see from Alan. Alan says, is there a percentage in the workload widget? It seems, I'm not sure if Alan, if you're referring to the TeamBoard view or the workload view pertaining to the work schedule, but we do not necessarily have a percentage output here on TeamBoard. With the workload widget that is native to Monday, you do have the ability to toggle through the effort and capacity and display, instead of a number as the bandwidth for the individual and that task, you can select a percentage, and it's basically the same output, just converted into their bandwidth in the percentage view. So hopefully that answers your question, Alan. I'm just looking through a couple more questions that I feel will be a little more clarifying to general things. I do see another question from Mike here. Just a simple question, it seems that maybe I've neglected to answer. in pertinence to this availability management feature, Mike says, how do I set up an actual team? So that's a great question. And I do want to go over that so that you can set these up and assign the work schedule to the right teams. In your avatar at the top right-hand corner, you can go ahead and select team right here. And then you can predefine with a new team what members on your Monday account belong to what team. So as you can see here, I've created 2 sample teams, one called Tottenham Hotspur with 6 members, and then another team for that specific workaround that I described with just 1 member. And when you apply, both team members from different work schedules. So as you can see, Sun here has a couple of days off and a holiday, but Harry Kane here does not have any holidays or any time off. Availability is widely different. Both of those will be reflected in this workload widget view. So hopefully that kind of answers how to set up the team in general. I see a very technical question. I think it might be helpful pertaining to the connect boards column setup that I have here. Let's see. I'm just looking for the name. It looks like Henry asked here, how do you set up the connection from the sub item level on one board to another item on a different board? That's a great question. So I've already established these connections for you for the sake of the demonstration, but there is a very particular maneuver that you need to go through in order to connect the sub item to the board level. What you will want to do, and you'll want to make sure that this happens, is that you will want to create a connect boards column at the sub item level that you want to connect to another board. If you create a connect boards column at the parent item on the same board that the sub item exists on, that will not be available for selection. If I type in sub items, nothing will appear because that is not available when you connect at the parent item. So instead, you will want to make sure that your connection begins at the sub item level, and then you will be able to connect to another board. So let's just see this out and play on the inventory board again. Best practice whenever you're setting up automated connections, for me at least, is that you always enable the two-way connection. A two-way connection essentially creates a reciprocal connect boards column on the other end. So on the destination board, in this case, the inventory board, and it's going to allow you to see that change in the connection on both boards. Sometimes it gets a little lost in the, like a needle in the haystack if you only have the connection on one side. So I always recommend for automations, create a two-way connection. Once I click on connect, I'm going to skip the mirror column section. If I click on this, you will see now that I have all access to those inventory level items. If I go to the inventory item, you see now that I have a new connect boards column that's called link to sub items of orders. And that's very different from the orders board. Right? If I click into this, it will only show me a drop down of all the items at the sub item level and not the items like Jonah Park or Shannon Tao in the parent item level over here. So hopefully that helps you to get that set up. Happy to help you out. This is something that I work with all the time on the support level. So happy to jump on a chat with you or an email to help you to get this set up. I see another last minute question that says, can you mirror a column if you forgot to add it at the time of creating? Yeah, that's an absolutely great question. You can absolutely add a mirror column whenever you want in the process. All you have to do is click on the 3-dot menu button next to the header of the connect boards column, go to settings, go to customize, and then instead of connecting a board, you'll have this option to click on mirror column. You can also just simply click on the column center, type in mirror, and add a connection there as well. And it will prompt you to connect to your desired connect boards column. Let's just show you the most intuitive way to do that. And right away, I can connect a mirror column again and select the mirror that I want to project. Let's just say, for example, I want to project the board name, then it will go ahead and show me that as well. All right, so we are at the hour mark now. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I just want to run through just a little bit of a recap of what we've talked about. We've talked about the date column revamp. We talked about lockboard views. We talked about the work schedule and availability management, connecting sub items to automate those connections. We've also talked about automation notifications, saving workspace templates, assigning teams to entities like boards, dashboards, and docs. And we've also talked about our app of the month called TeamBoard to help with resource allocation. Feel free to check out several resources as we wrap this up. We have a specific community page that is designed to help discuss new features. So if you had any questions that were not answered, I'd encourage you to check out our community page. We also have a Facebook community where you can contribute and share your experiences about Monday. And we also have our Monday Academy page for dedicated new features. And we have a particular section for that as well. All right, so that's all for now. It's been such a pleasure just spending the last hour with you and reviewing these exciting new features to improve your experience. If you ever write into the support line, maybe you'll run into me and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you again and have a great day.